My name is Carl Souza. I'm the Finance and Operations Director for the Xerces Society. We're a North conservation organization focused on working in North America to conserve invertebrates, which include animals such as butterflies, bumblebees, freshwater mussels across the country. We're a smallish organization of about 100 people, but do a lot of work all across the country.
Steve Shinneman. I'm a Senior Vice President at Sharing Connection. We're a nonprofit headquartered in downtown Denver, and we assist nonprofits across the country, anywhere from Hawaii all the way across the country to New York, on giving them the expertise that they may need to handle real estate gifts on behalf of the nonprofit that they work for.
Yeah, up until the point that we received this gift of property, it was a land with a home on it. We really hadn't had experience receiving gifts of real property. We've had bequests before and other kinds of plan giving, but didn't really even have a great policy in place for accepting real property, I guess, like many small organizations may not have. And so it actually came as a surprise to us that the person who was a longtime donor never told us that they were going to donate this to us, and it just sort of showed up as part of the settlement of the estate. I think it was actually held in a trust. And so we kind of had to turn around and figure out what to do quickly, and we searched about, and we're lucky to find Sharing Connection existed out there to help in kind of just this circumstance where you're a small organization without really the staffing to do things like handle these very occasional transactions in real property.
So what happened was like Carl just said, he found us. We started digging in, doing our due diligence. And a lot of times nonprofits will think, oh, this will be easy. We just take it and we sell it and we take the proceeds. But with all gifts of real estate, they're always a little trickier, and there's always some interesting dynamics. And so what we did is we started digging into figuring out what would be needed to get this property ready for sale. And there were some extensive I wouldn't say renovations, but there were a lot of upgrades that needed to be done. We internally painted the rental home. We did some external paint. We actually did some remodeling, and then we found out that we actually had to put on a new roof as well and do some landscaping. So it was a little bit not in disrepair, but it had been a rental for several years. I think the tenant had some cats in there, and so a lot of things had to be cleaned up. And then the kind of the quirk is Oregon has very tenant friendly laws, and so we had to figure out how can we get the tenant out of the property so it can then be sold and the proceeds could go to the mission. And so so that was interesting. We had to dig into tenant laws. Luckily that all worked itself out, and everything, like I said, worked out. And so in the end, we used our connections with a contractor, a broker, a handyman, and got it up and listed, and got it sold and got the proceeds to Xerces Society.
Yeah, it's kind of exactly what we were looking for when we were presented with the gift, because they were able to do both an appraisal of the property, make recommendations to us about what they thought should be done to maximize, the net value to both institutions. And it was super painless, right? I mean, the communication was pretty streamlined, and we were able to make decisions quickly to get it done. As far as our organization's focused, maybe for the last 20 years simply on stewarding our members, and now it's sort of paying off. I think we have a lot of members who are at the stage of life where they might be passing on and figuring out what to do with their property. And so we're actually right now stepping up a little more attention on our plan giving process. And part of that would be, how being ready and able to accept some gifts of real property. So, and we had a great experience with Sharing Connection, and we certainly try to engage with them earlier in the process to kind of have a plan in place and not be surprised with a gift. For us, it was great because it ends up being, an unrestricted gift as well. And so we were able to dedicate some of the money to starting up some new programming that we've been wanting to do, and it's because it was sort of a surprise. It was unbudgeted money, and so that's great. Yeah, any kind of gift of real property ends up, especially if the sole beneficiaries, ends up being a good chunk of money.
Yeah, I would always just say, with any company like Sharing Connection, or anybody else that they're partnering with, is to always just reach out, early. Most of these companies, I know Sharing Connection will do complimentary advice and due diligence. And most of the time, a lot of times, real estate deals don't come to fruition. Once a qualified company will get in there and start digging in, a lot of times, I know from Sharing Connection standpoint, we'll advise the nonprofit to not accept a gift. There's just too many issues. There could be environmental hazards, could be a lot of different things, but that's all complimentary. And so if you have a board that is risk averse, I would try to educate them and tell them that there's companies out there like Sharing Connection who can do the due diligence and steer the nonprofit into what may be next to do for due diligence or walking away from the potential gift. Like Carl said earlier, we're a nonprofit, and so our whole goal is to partner with other nonprofits and kind of maximize the gifts that they receive. So that's what I would offer to other nonprofits that may be watching this.
Thanks, Steve, for mentioning the service you provide for doing that early analysis of the property and the situation, because that's exactly the kind of issue that our board would not necessarily be equipped to deal with, right? Evaluating a property and deciding should we even accept the gift or not in advance. And I think it does help to have had that. And in this case, there are issues around, just avoiding even maybe taking initial title to the property and having to deal with that whole process. And Sharing Connection made it easy